Maloney, who currently serves as a Precinct 9 town meeting representative. But Pat has a long history of serving the town in various and sundry roles, and since we are heavily now into taking a look at our present 5 fire station footprint configuration and assessing the needs of the fire department and its facilities going forward. And we've just recently been invited to participate for funding from the state for our schools. I thought it would be good to have Pat in, and perhaps we could talk about those things and some other things that are coming up. So Pat, welcome to the show. I think this is your first time, isn't it?
First time with you, Sam. Yes, and it's been quite a while.
Yes.
Years since I was on any other shows in town here. So we've been staying busy with townwide stuff, more from a owner's project management point of view the last couple of years. So I've not been on a committee, although I have recently become a town meeting rep to
Yes.
get back into the flow of things. So yeah, it's been a long time.
It has been a long
working
time
for the town. Yeah.
So what we normally do is we have the guest to give us a very brief biographical sketch, whatever you want to say, and then we'll get into the meat of the discussion. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So yeah, my history here is, I was your average homeowner in the 90s, and I had 3 young kids in school, and along about the end of the 90s, Dr. Mosier was coming out, and the current school superintendent at the time, so he was coming out and proposing $100+ million project, if you recall, and for a high school. Mm-hmm. And that's when, those numbers sounded big to me, and but I was of the mind, being in the business, I own a construction management firm. We're in our 34th year of business
In
now.
Chelmsford.
In Chelmsford, yep. We specialize in pharmaceutical and biotech work, so we build a lot of labs and clean rooms, but I also had heavy construction experience before starting the business and so on. So I felt like maybe I could lend something to the discussion back then, and I was also of the mind that if we were going to spend $100 million plus, I wanted to be sure that we got the proper bang for the buck, so to speak. So started following things in the late 90s, and I got on a school building committee in May of '01, mm-hmm. and that was called just a school building committee, and that was to further the discussion to go ahead with the new high school. And at the time, MSBA had just come in for a couple of years, was in existence, Mass School Building Authority.
Thank you.
MSBA is Massachusetts School Building Authority, and they had just come out with a program of reimbursement based on the town's needs and wealth and so on. So it was based on certain percentages you could get reimbursement from the state to help with your project. So
Town has to apply to MSBA to get
correct.
On the list and be considered for that kind of reimbursement.
Yeah, so we were here in town, and to Dr. Moses' credit, he wanted to take advantage of some reimbursement and try to get a new high school done, and he had further ideas on how to utilize the old high school. Some people in town call it the new high school still, mm-hmm. but the old high school built in '73. So anyway. Through that school building committee, we had put forth a project for a new high school that had gotten shut down. It wasn't voted at the ballot. But we also had a dire need in the secondary schools, the 2 middle schools, Parker, McCarthy, and the high school, for roofs, windows, boilers. They hadn't been touched in a very long time. So long about this time, there was another committee formed that was some finance committee people and the town manager and stuff, and they were just trying to find a way to get to...
I was on that committee.
You were on that committee, as a matter of fact.
I remember it well.
Yep, so I attended most of those meetings, mm-hmm. and paid attention, and so through that committee, and mind you, during the time, MSBA had put a moratorium on reimbursements. Mm-hmm. So during that committee, it was, okay, we're going it alone. And we're just going to come up with the money and address the maintenance projects. So through your good work and the other members of that committee, there was an appropriation for $32 million that came out. And so through that, the secondary school building committee was formed, and that was probably in 02, 03, somewhere in there. Anyway, so I came on as chairman of that committee. And I looked at the project, and I can remember the first day the business manager coming in to the first meeting, and we get into the meat of the subject. And
Bob Cruikshank.
yeah, and he turns around and he says, just give me my $16 million and I'll be on my way. I'll go take care of my maintenance projects. And so
Hold on, Bob.
I was like, yeah, I'm on. So through some somewhat heated discussions, I felt like, I really wanted to maximize that money and do what we had planned and then some. So we got the backing of the committee. We had the backing of, we ultimately got the backing of Bob Cruikshank and Dr. Moser and Bernie Lynch. So keep in mind, there was a moratorium on reimbursement.
Right.
We didn't want to take no for an answer, so we got very vigilant with our representatives and said we'd like to press the state for some reimbursement for this project. Every other town around us has had success with that, and we're just in that rough spot where we can't get it. So so they did meet with us. I can remember Bernie Lynch, myself, and Dr. Moser went into Boston and met with the woman that was heading up MSBA at the time, and we had our representatives with us. And we pleaded our case and kept pleading our case, and we were told, well, we were given the idea that frame your project that might make it acceptable for reimbursement. So that changed my thinking of it's not just a maintenance project anymore. We really have to get some things
Because
done.
they were not doing maintenance at the time. It was only if you were doing major renovation or building a new building.
Correct.
Which made, at the time, no sense at all to me, because here we are trying to maintain our buildings and not have them fall into disrepair.
Yeah.
But come back to us when they do fall into disrepair, and you have to do new ones. Made
And
no
at the time,
sense
we had leaky roofs, we had
Yeah.
leaky windows, we were boilers were failing repeatedly. So, so I sat back and we really took a close look at this, and we hired some great consultants. So through that project, just to not spend too much time on it, but what was going to be just generally a maintenance project for roofs, windows, and boilers at McCarthy, Parker, and the high school. With that $32 million, I went back and kind of drove the project to where so for the initial $32 million, we got a 1,000-seat auditorium over at the high school. We did a new science wing at the high school. We did two 5,000 square foot libraries, one at Parker, one at McCarthy. We did all the roofs, we did all the windows, we did all the boilers. We did all the maintenance that was required through that project, but because we framed it and got all this other work done, we finally got the state to come back when the moratorium was still in place, but the state finally committed that they'd give us 54%. So we got $17 million back that we weren't counting on. And that's what allowed us to really go and press and do this great project at the time, which was going to be a maintenance project. And, we did a whole lot of work. And then even through that, Gary Persichetti, who was Director of Facilities in DPW at the time, we went for every rebate from the electric companies and the power, every rebate we could find. So we really enhanced the project, and we brought it through and got all that work done for the initial $32 million budget that was going to be a maintenance project. So
On time and on budget, how often do public construction projects meet that criteria?
virtually never.
Exactly.
Virtually never.
But that's not the only one you brought in on time and on budget.
We've done several. So
Yep.
from there, I went on. We finished up that whole school building project. From there, the town had put together a consolidated fire and DPW committee, which we were going to look at building a new DPW because our DPW at the time was up on Richardson Road, and our firehouse was falling in over on North Road.
Central Fire Station.
Central Fire. So, so we looked at, we started that committee, and we looked at a lot of different things, and eventually, we separated the two projects. So to go on, and I won't give all the timing, but so we did a DPW project that, capital-wise, right now the town's in it for about $13 million. Every other town at the time was building DPW facilities in the range of $30 million plus. So
I think that was our initial, didn't we, didn't the first time we...
$27 million
yeah,
was our
right.
initial
I
budget.
I remember that.
And the town said, no,
Nope.
we just can't do it. So, we had some very smart people on the building committee at the time, and a guy named Dave Duane, who was a commercial real estate consultant, said, hey, this building is over on Alpha Drive, and it's for sale, and maybe we can do something with that. And it had a few acres with it. And I said, okay, let's go look at it, and it was for sale. And so we worked out an agreement with that owner, and we took what was the old pet food warehouse over there. And little by little...
Mother Hubbard, right?
Old Mother Hubbard, exactly, exactly. I was trying to think of the name of it. So we bought the building for, geez, I want to say $750,000 or
Yeah,
something.
it was a good deal, I
It
remember.
was a really good deal,
Yep.
and so then we went and we rehabbed that, and during the course of that, there was a landowner next door that we talked to and wasn't going to do anything with his land, so we got him to donate the land to the town, so we picked up the extra acreage for the salt shed and all that other area out in the back. So another successful project that we bought in on time, on budget, way ahead of budget, because our initial estimate
Right.
was $27 million. So right here today, we probably spent about $13 million for that project in full, and it's a great facility. It's 90,000 feet. To go build that facility today would cost $35 to $40 million.
At least, yeah.
So that was another one. From there, we went on and started the fire station program again.
So during this whole time, you are chairman of the Permanent Building Committee.
Yeah. So when the school project finished in '07, Paul Cohen was just coming in as town manager about the time. And so Paul decided that it would be prudent for the town to consider a permanent building.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't have a permanent building committee.
We did not.
That,
no.
which was a deficiency, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Because there's a lot of good, smart people in town that can
Absolutely.
help guide these types
Absolutely
of things.
right.
So long about then, Paul started the permanent building committee, and one of the first projects we started on was the central fire station, and we had a couple of go-arounds with that. We looked at various locations in the center to put it. We looked at the corner of Wilson Street. You remember the
Yes.
furor over that, and the different areas. But we finally got it approved, and we got the building over next to the existing town offices. That project was a $12 million fire station. At the same time, Westford was building their central fire station for about twice the amount that we were spending. So, once again, I think we had a good bang for the buck on that.
And I wish, not to interrupt you, but this is something, because as you know, I've been in the public service now for almost 30 years in Chelmsford, and the thing that frustrates me more than anything is that when we do things correctly, and we do things with the taxpayer in mind, and we try everything in the world to save money, and it's just, okay, that's fine. And as you say, you look at the towns around us, and some of the projects that we've brought in, and you've just talked about them. I mean, we get our bang for our buck. Other towns spend $30 million, we spend 15 and get the same thing. I mean, and over a 20-25 year period, starting in about 2000, that's replicated 5 or 6 times throughout the town. Yeah. And I just wish, not to sit here and crow about it, but I just wish people would be aware of that and understand that most folks that do volunteer to serve the town in Chelmsford are trying to do the right thing, are trying to get things done in a cost-efficient manner, and are not trying to, be disrespectful of the taxpayer. I mean, I think in town we have an excellent track record of that, and certainly your service epitomizes that. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to
but
get
it's very
that little.
true.
It is true. It is true.
And it's a testament to all the good people here in town, and the volunteerism, which has waned a bit in the past few years.
Yes,
but
it has.
unfortunately, hopefully we can start to turn that around. We have some pretty serious projects that they're considering right now.
So let's talk about those.
So yeah, so there was a fire study committee formed 2.5 years ago.
It's been over 2 years,
It's
right?
been over 2 years. So, so they seem to be starting to wind down their work now. I would expect some kind of project to come from them. I've been attending those meetings as much as possible. And recently helped get Jeff Alberti, another consultant, on board to get them some budgets and such, and helped out the building committee with that. So I am not on the building committee right now, but I am acting as owner's project manager for North Fire Station, and I was owner's project manager on the $9 million
Now, what does that mean, that title?
Anytime a municipality or a town like us goes to spend more than $2.5 million, the state requires you to hire an owner's project manager.
Okay.
So it's a mandate. Typically,
What in the private sector we might call that clerk of the works?
you could.
Okay, right.
You could liken it to that, but it's a little bit more than that these days because they want you to be a little bit more astute. So, so as owner's project manager, typically companies like Turner Construction or Vertex consultants who we've used in the past, they run about 2% of the project cost. And I find that, if I can, what the state allows for, if you have a building professional, a licensed building professional in town that would step up to be the owner's project manager, they will allow that.
Oh,
So I did that. So
okay.
it was fee gratis. We saved the 2% and we were able to put that towards the project and enhance
Fee
it.
gratis. Once again, you're volunteering.
Something like
where
that,
where
right.
otherwise we might have to pay somebody to do it.
You would have paid somebody 1 to 2% of the project cost
And
for
that's-
the $9 million
That's pretty hefty.
school project, and
Yep.
so the $3.5 million fire project up here. So,
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot about building fire stations now, between working with the North Station as OPM and being chairman of the building committee when we did Central Fire Headquarters. So I wasn't fortunate enough to serve on this committee, but I've been paying attention to it, and it's coming. And so I want to try to have some involvement in that to make sure that the town goes about it the right way and hires the right people and such. So that's coming. And then the other thing that's coming, which we just had some news just last week.
Right.
We got notified from MSBA, Mass School Building Authority, that they will they'll look at us for a potential new Parker Middle School.
And we've been submitting regularly for the past 5 or so years, haven't we?
Correct.
Correct. Because you have to submit. They have a review cycle that lasts a year. Once that's done, it's like, okay, we have to start from scratch. Is that a correct statement?
Yes. So
And
each
then
year
have
you
to
start
resubmit.
over,
Okay.
right? And so they look at a lot of their program is based on need first and foremost, and then they look at various other things, the condition of your buildings and so on. So for us, going for a new middle school or a new high school, I mentioned Gary Persichetti earlier, and Gary retired a year or two ago. But the maintenance program picked up tremendously in the past 10 to 15 years, such that the state was looking at our schools going, well, you're not in that bad a shape. And so I think that's kind of...
No good deed goes unpunished, does it?
It's kind of how it goes, I think. And it's sad to say, because when you look at all the towns around us and all the building that they've done and so on. So we've been more frugal in that, and that's okay too, because, I know.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Maintain your facilities is the right thing to do.
Exactly, exactly. So I look forward to maybe getting involved in that, and it's just another area as I move into semi-retirement here in my old age.
You're just a kid to me, Pat. I'm sorry.
I know, Sam. I know, but it's just it's piqued my curiosity, and So I sit here now going, geez, it's something that I can probably be another help to the town, another way to help the town. And I've got a few years left of me to do this kind of thing. So
It's great.
I would try to get involved some way or another.
And we count on people like you to step up, when they see the need. Now, one thing I don't think you said when we first started the show, you're a townie, right? Were you born here?
No, we moved here in 1970.
Oh, okay, so you're
Yeah.
almost a townie.
Almost a townie.
Yeah.
I'm almost a townie, but
But
I'm still
technically
I'm still
you're a
considered
blow-in.
Yes. Yep.
He's been here 53 years, folks, but he's a blower.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But
Right.
but we've been here a long time,
Yeah.
and my kids came up through the
Through
school
the
system.
schools. Right. So you're thoroughly invested in the town.
Oh yeah,
No question about
And
it.
my kids had a wonderful education. They've gone on, and they're doing wonderful things today. So I can't say enough nice things about the town. I love this town, and I think there's been a lot of good work by a lot of good
Yes.
people over the years here. So I'm interested in keeping that going. So
Well, I, for one, knowing, having been associated with you and working with you for the past 20 years on some of the things that we've talked about, I mean, your work ethic is just stupendous. The fact that you were willing to give so much of yourself and your time to the town without any kind of compensation, monetary compensation, is also fantastic, and we've benefited. And again, I'll say it again because I think it bears repeating. All my experience in looking at public works projects, they never come in on time and they're always over budget. Okay, I don't care how well they're planned. And I think a lot of it probably, we were talking a little bit about this before the show, okay? I think a lot of it probably has to do with the fact that the oversight isn't there. You don't have people in the town on building committees or whatever who really understand the construction business and the project management business, and so a lot of things are missed.
it's very true.
Okay?
And
And
just
a lot of the
quickly,
contractors take advantage of that.
well, public work is set up to be adversarial at best. And so the way that it's structured, the way it gets bid and such, the contractor wants to fight the architect and the architect wants to fight it. It's set up to be adversarial. So you need a conductor of the orchestra to keep everything straight.
That's a good analogy. I like that. Yeah.
But I will also tell you that almost every project we've done, we've had some problem or another where we had to, get legally involved, with attorneys and say, hey, you need to do this, or you're breaching this part of the contract and such, and we've been very successful.
And my impression, if I remember correctly, is that very little of that was made public. I mean, you just handled it.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't make a big thing about it. It wasn't a huge explosion in the town, and you managed through those adversarial things, and where the contractor wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, perhaps, and it got done. And again, projects come in on time, sometimes a little ahead of schedule, and mostly under budget. I think the most amazing thing is was the auditorium that was put onto the high school, because that, I was on the select board at the time, so I was probably paying a little bit more attention to that, because that was a very controversial thing. I mean, first of all, whoever heard of a high school without an auditorium? I think we were one of two in the entire state.
Yeah.
When I moved into town and I saw that, I just couldn't understand it, and a lot of other people couldn't. But, that was a very difficult project. And again, on time, under
And
budget.
the state only wanted to reimburse us for 500 seats.
Correct.
And we got them to 750.
What is it,
and
1,000?
It's 1,000 seats,
Right.
and we got them to reimburse.
It's a beautiful
54%
facility.
of that. So it's but it speaks to not necessarily being a thorn in somebody's side. It's just persistence. It's really persistence and
Well, it's the old saying, if you go to have your car serviced and you stand there in the bay and you watch the mechanic, you're going to get a better job, even if you don't know anything about cars. The fact that you're standing there and watching over the person, you'll probably get a better job. And certainly that's been true of our projects, and you've been thoroughly involved, not just a project manager by title, but somebody who actually got in there and got his hands dirty and
yeah,
watched the
and
process.
even here today, I was driving home from the Cape last night, and so I had to call into a permanent building committee meeting because I was the OPM, and one of the discussions was North Fire, and there's some bricks falling off.
Right.
Some people might drive by and see staging there.
And say, hey, wait a minute,
put
we
this-
just built the place. What's going
Exactly.
on?
So
Right.
we put the staging up to protect people, pets, and so on that may be around the building, because some of the brick facing is falling off. They're not full brick, they're just like Z-brick, if you will. So we've had good success with that in the past,
Sure.
school administration building and such. So this particular building, we're having a problem with the bricks falling off, and the contractor doesn't want to step up and repair it the way we think it should be done. So we're strategizing now to see how we're going to approach this, but I'll guarantee you that we'll get a positive outcome for the town.
I'm sure we
We
will.
will have what we bargained for, because when we design these buildings in town, and we put it right in our RFPs, our request for proposals, we design these buildings to last 50 years. So if it's a school building, a municipal building, we look to design and build them to last 50 years. And so, I'm not willing to take an extended warranty to 10 years, and, because the 11th year,
You're done.
the brick will be falling,
That's
and we'll
it.
be paying $500,000 that we ought not have paid. So those are the little things that you're constantly involved
Right.
with. But, it's always exciting to me. I get a little excitement out of this because I
Well,
know it so well.
you're animated just talking about it.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
So, so when all this is done, I can't imagine you sitting back and not wanting to continue to contribute. So, are you thinking of any next steps? Or?
Well, it's funny you mention that, Sam, because, and this, it's only through the fire study committee that's in place now, looking at potentially new fire stations. And hearing that, we have a potential MSBA project coming up, a new Parker Middle School. It's exciting, and I sit here and say, I still got a few years of involvement left here. So I think it's appropriate at this point for me maybe to run for selectman this coming election in the spring, because I feel like I could really add a lot of benefit to the things that we're going to be looking at coming in the future. So.
Well, I have to say, I am very pleased to hear that.
Well, thank you.
I am
Thank
very
you.
pleased to hear that.
You're one of the first people to know that.
And here it is on the show. Who knew, right? But the thing is that the town would absolutely benefit greatly from having your presence on the board. There's no doubt in my mind, and you're going to get an awful lot of support. Just the fact that you've been in town so long, the fact that you've been involved at different levels on different kinds of projects, and not just building projects, you've been involved in other things too. I think, and the fact that you are a local business owner and you understand that dynamic that goes on, very, very important to the town. I wish you every success. And you're going to have, as I say, you're going to have an awful lot of support in your efforts. So,
well, that sounds exciting to me.
Yep. Well, I'm glad you made that decision now, because I think if you get into the race early on, certainly you've got a lot more time. You have to get, you have to form a committee and get a campaign manager and a treasurer, and there's an awful lot of administrative and housekeeping things that you have to do. It's not easy. But I know you're up to the task.
Yeah, well, it's...
and you're enthusiastic, that's the other thing. And you are a people person. And I tell people, listen, do not go into elected politics unless you like people. Well, that is the first requirement. If you don't like people, you do not belong in politics.
No, and I think that's why there's been some success. And I mentioned I'm going into semi-retirement, and I have 25 employees, but they are the greatest employees. Most of the people have been with me, 3/4 of the people have been with me more than 15 years. So I sit there and
that says it all.
It's how you work with people and how you get things done.
That's it.
So,
well, Pat, unfortunately, we're out of time. But given your announcement, obviously, we're going to have you back.
Okay, good. Love to come back. Love to come back.
Thank you very much, and we're really pleased to hear about your potential run for selectman. Great.
Well, thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
I appreciate the vote of confidence.
We're out of time.